All right, let's talk about something that seems so simple, but I swear it drives every single one of us crazy when we're trying to make something look good. And that is, what is the secret to getting the spacing just right?
Okay, let's start with a really basic example. You've got a heading and you've got a paragraph. How much space do you put between them? I mean, if you put too little, it's all cramped and hard to read. But if you put too much, they look like they don't even know each other. There's this sweet spot, right? A comfort zone. Seems simple enough.
Yeah, well, it gets complicated really fast. Because what happens the second we add just one more thing? Say, a subheading. Now what do? Suddenly there's no obvious answer. Does it hug the heading? Does it get closer to the paragraph? Or do you just kind of stick it right in the middle? What's the rule here?
And of course, it doesn't stop there. Let's take that whole block of text and put it inside a card. Maybe we throw in an image, a button, and suddenly that one simple question about one little gap has completely spiraled into this super complex puzzle. We're juggling all these different relationships at once. What started out as a straightforward task is, not so straightforward anymore.
Okay, so this whole problem brings us to our first really big idea. It's called the illusion of symmetry. And this is where we're going to see why what feels right is often, well, mathematically wrong. Basically, your eyes are a much better judge of balance than a ruler is. All right, take a look at these two cards. Just go with your gut. Which one feels more balanced, more, right? I'm willing to bet you pick the one on the right. And you know what? Most people do. But here's the crazy part. The card on the left is the one that's mathematically perfect. The spacing is completely symmetrical.
So what is going on here? The secret is this amazing design principle called optical correction. And it's basically the art of tweaking things so they look right, not just so they're mathematically perfect. It's all about trusting what our eyes perceive over what the raw numbers say.
So why does this happen? What's the technical reason? Well, when a computer draws text on the screen, every letter lives inside this little invisible box. It's called a bounding box. But the letters themselves, with all their curves and tails, they almost never fill that box up perfectly. So you end up with these tiny, invisible gaps of extra space all over the place. And that's what throws off the visual balance. Optical correction is just the fancy term for how designers manually fix that, for how we account for that invisible space.
Okay, so if we can't always trust pure math to guide us, what do we do instead? What's the alternative? Well, this leads us to a really simple but incredibly powerful framework for solving these spacing puzzles. It's all about understanding visual relationships. And it breaks down into three really basic laws. First, everything on your screen is related to everything else in some way. Second, some of those relationships are obviously stronger than others. And third, and this is the big one, this is the one you really need to remember, the stronger the relationship, the closer those two things should be to each other.
That's it. That is the core idea right there. If you can really internalize that one thought, you hold the key to creating clarity and hierarchy in pretty much any design. Just remember this. Proximity equals relationship strength. It sounds so simple, but I'm telling you, it changes everything. All right, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Let's make this super tangible. We're going to take these laws and use them to redesign a page from an employee handbook. I know, exciting stuff, but it's the perfect example.
So here's our before. And yep, it's a classic wall of text. You've seen this a million times. Everything is spaced out evenly, which, ironically, means that nothing stands out at all. It's just impossible to scan, and there's absolutely no visual guide for the reader. Your eyes just don't know where to go.
Okay, so first step. We're not going to move a single thing yet. All we're going to do is just identify the different kinds of information. We're just recognizing, okay, that's a main title, that's a subtitle, here are the paragraphs, and here are the section headings. We're basically just mapping out the relationships before we do anything else. Okay. Now we apply the law. What's the strongest relationship on this page? It's the title and the subtitle, right? They're basically one single unit of information. So what do? We give them the smallest amount of space. We bring them really close together to show people, visually, that these two things belong together.
All right, next up, what about the relationship between that subtitle and the paragraph right after it? Well, they're related for sure, but that relationship is weaker than the one between the title and subtitle. So we use a bigger gap. Let's call it a medium space, to create just a little bit of separation.
And finally, we've got the end of one paragraph and the heading for a totally new section. In terms of meaning, these two things have almost nothing to do with each other. This is our weakest relationship by far. So naturally, it gets the biggest space. We want to create a really clear visual break that says, hey, we're changing topics here.
And there you have it.
the final result. Look at that! By just systematically applying our one simple rule, basing the spacing on relationship strength, that old wall of text is gone. It's been transformed into a clean, easy-to-scan document. The hierarchy is just crystal clear. You know exactly where to look.
See how powerful that is? It's such a simple idea with a huge impact. So the next logical question in your head is probably, okay, that's great, but how do I actually start using this myself? So let's talk about it. We're going to look at 3 practical ways you can bring a system like this into your own work.
Basically, you've got 3 main paths you can take. First, you can use a free pre-built framework, something like LiftKit. Second, you can go the DIY route and build your very own spacing system from the ground up. Or, third, if you want some help, you can hire an agency, like Chainlift, to set the whole thing up for you.
So let's just quickly break these down. LiftKit, it's free, the learning curve is super gentle, you can probably pick it up in a day, and you've got community support. The DIY route is also free, of course, but it's going to take more practice, and you're kind of on your own. And finally, hiring the experts is a paid option, but with that, you get a guided process and support pretty much forever.
But here's the most important takeaway. No matter which path you choose, using a system is what matters. A lot of people think systems like this restrict creativity, but it's actually the complete opposite. It sets up these helpful guardrails that stop you from making common mistakes, which frees you up to focus on the much bigger picture.
And that's really it. The secret science of spacing? It turns out it was never about perfect math or memorizing rules. It's just about understanding and showing clear relationships. So now that you know the secret, what are you going to go create?